My name is Larry Moss, and I am the director of SKYLIGHT, written by David Hare.
So, Larry, how did you come across this project? What was your first exposure to the play?
It was first done in New York, and I forget the exact date, but it was with a wonderful British actor named Michael Gambon and a wonderful actress named Leah Williams. And I was kind of flabbergasted by it, by the performances and the writing, because it's a real love story about two people that were meant to be together romantically, carnally, spiritually, but not philosophically. That there is a divide between them based on their relationship. They had an affair when Tom was married. She's younger than by quite a lot. The extraordinary thing is that they were in a relationship while he was married to another woman, and the young lady, Kira, became best friends with the wife while she's having an affair with the husband, and they have children, and it was a family. And it seems odd and bizarre, and when the wife found out, Kira, the young woman, leaves, and the wife gets cancer and dies, and they haven't seen each other, Tom and Kira, for 3 years. And the play takes place on the day that Tom's son, who's 18, comes to Kira to find out if she will come and help him with his father, who has gone into a kind of melancholy state of grief and loneliness. And on the same day, without the father knowing it, the father shows up. So the son and the father both seek out this young woman, Kira, who's working as a teacher in East Ham, in underprivileged children, in tough neighborhoods. She gives up all of the good life, meaning money and position, and I think out of different reasons, out of paying penance for what she did, out of feeling betrayed by Tom because he told the wife. And she becomes a woman who believes in bringing the lower classes up through education. And though she loves the good life, she believes that her life is about helping those less fortunate, and it's what she lives by with. She says in the play, when Tom says, "Do you like this? You like this teaching of yours?" And she says, "Well, I wouldn't say like, but it stretches me, and we like to be stretched." And they're kind of playing a game of, he wants her back, and she knows if she goes back, she'll probably disappear. But she's in love with him. He can't go on without her. There's the dead woman. There's the son trying to find a way to make peace with his father. He misses this woman that was in his life growing up, and she just disappeared without a word. So there's it's about a family. And that's what I loved about it, is that it was political, it was romantic, it was philosophical, and it was psychological. The characters were clear. They had remarkable backgrounds, a certain time in the 80s during the Thatcher era. David Hare's, the language in this play is so hot. It's what I call hot language. And I remember sitting in the theater feeling waves of energy coming over the footlights from the ideas, the relationship to the characters, and the stakes, what each person was terrified of and what each person craved. And it just made me on fire. And so I'm an acting teacher, and I kept giving this material out to people because I was so fascinated by the writing. And then they just did a production on Broadway last year with Bill Nighy and Carey Mulligan, which was a wonderful success. And so when Lindsay asked me to direct it, I jumped at the opportunity, the thrill of a good play with good actors is like nothing that's my life. To work on great writing with really good actors is what makes me live. And so I'm really looking forward to working on this extraordinary play by David Hare.
When you talk about working with good actors, you've worked with some of people who are broadly believed to be the finest actors of our generation. You coached Leonardo DiCaprio on The Revenant. You've coached Hilary Swank. One of the actors you've coached, Natasha Gregson-Wagner, says of you, Larry Moss's acting workshop is more like a temple of self-realization and self-repair, courage, and humility. Well, this is very high praise. What is it to you that makes a good actor, and what do you do to facilitate that talent?
It's an honor to teach. And it's 44 years I've done it. And I never take it for granted. I'm always studying, learning, because there's an actor in front of you or an actress in front of you who are asking you to help them into writers' worlds. That's what I love, is getting the actors excited to be in the hands of great writers. And that's what I think excites people about the class, is that they work on David Hare. They work on Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams and obviously Shakespeare and Shaw. Introducing young actors to great writers changes them forever. So when a young actor or actress first meets Arthur Miller, I say to actors, I said, we will all die, but in 50 years they'll still be doing Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams and Shakespeare and musicals by Stephen Sondheim. When you shake hands with great writing, you shake hands with the innermost passion of life. Because these writers, obviously starting with the Greeks and Shakespeare, on through Strindberg and Shaw, Harold Pinter, on and on and on, these great writers that upset you and make you think and make you roar with laughter. Neil Simon. They make you laugh, they make you cry, but they make you think. Good writers, good plays make you think. Make you look at your social economic level that you grew up with. Makes you look at what nationality and race you are. Makes you look at the price that people pay to be human. So I take it with great joy and great passion and a sense of true humility at being trusted by actors who say, help me into the writer's world. Like all the people I'm lucky to work with, they give everything. They study the writing, they study the life of the character, they study their vocal patterns, they study their physical behavior, their rhythms, their backstory, their relationship to objects, their relationship to place, their relationship to the other person, how they walk, why they wear the clothes they wear, all of the issues that make someone an idiosyncratic, particular human being in a story. Because they play character, they respect the human life that they're portraying. I have a great quote by Meryl Streep. She said, I never respect a character less than I respect my own life. So I want to understand them.
So that idea of the actor respecting the character's choices, to me is very interesting in this play, because there's a strong tension between what's moral and what's immoral, both on a societal level in terms of a sort of capitalist versus socialist worldview, but also on a personal level in terms of loyalty and infidelity. Can you talk a little bit about how you mine the richness of that conflict?
The wonderful thing about Skylight is that they're both, in my opinion, wrong-headed and right-headed. To me, There are other people that will have a completely different response to this play. There will be people, I promise you, that will say, well, obviously she's right. And obviously there will be people who say he's right. But this smart person, in my opinion, will say he has a point. She has a point. It's not black or white. Life never is. So when we say, what is morality? What are ethics? What is right for someone else is not right for someone else. So that's what I love about the play. Exactly what you said. I love the play because when you really listen to it, you can't just say, oh, well, she's for the, the underclass. She's for the people that didn't have a break in life. But he's about a man who comes from very little, who works his butt off to become a successful restaurateur, gives a lot of people jobs who wouldn't have jobs if he wasn't successful in restaurants. So David Hare is saying she has a fantastic point about going into the underclasses and bringing them up, facing violent students. But he has a point about creating something that gives people work. It's not black or white. Is he troubled as a person? I think so. Is she? I think so. People are troubled. They have conflicts that come from their parents, that come from their parents, that come from their parents, and then we call it our life. But your choices are what your life becomes. And they both make extraordinary choices that cause them both great pain, great joy, great regret, great loneliness, and rebirth. It's an amazing play.
Now, as someone who's taught the script many times, and as someone who's about to go into directing this production of it, what to you is the secret to the text? What are you going to crack open that you think is utterly necessary to tell this story properly?
Well, I hope that I will be able to support the actors to listen to each other. And everybody who knows anything about acting talks about listening, not knowing. You rehearse your brains out. You study the play, but when you walk on a stage in front of an audience, you do it for the first time. And when you have David Hare speaking, and you're hearing him spoken to you, and you understand the emotional circumstances of this event, of this couple madly in love with each other that broke up 3 years ago and haven't seen each other in 3 years, and the play takes place the first night they see each other. I would support them, really, to listen. There was a great American actress that some people still know named Geraldine Page. And I often quote a great saying. She said, if we could only listen to each other on the stage like the animals in the forest, as though our life depended on it. So I want to support the actors to listen and let it in for the first time, each time they do it. That it's all an improvisation. What's Sanford Meisner taught? Acting, reacting, acting, reacting. The first time. When you watch a stage show and you feel like it's the only time it's ever happened, every now and then you walk into a theater and you go, this has never happened before and it will never happen again. It's happening right in front of me right now. That's what you're always looking for, is that freshness, that spontaneity, that sense of newness. That's what I hope to support in the performances.
What's your process to achieve an environment where people are that comfortable to take those risks?
Respect them, cast them well, and let them do their work. And if you feel that they have gone too far in one direction, you discuss it. It's a creative family. We do it together. The actors, the lighting designer, the set designer, the costume designer, the people in the seats. I love the theater because it's live. I love film, I work in it a lot, but I love the theater. I live in New York, so I can go to the theater, and I do maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I try to see everything, all the new writers, the new actors, the new set designers, the new lighting designers. I mean, there's all this young crop of new people that are coming up right now that are so gifted, and a lot of women, a lot of young women writers are coming up, and a lot of energy. When you see Hamilton, you can't believe what you're seeing, what Lin-Manuel brought. When I sat in the theater the other night watching Hamilton, I went, oh, and then there's that. You know, sometimes you sit in the theater and you go, oh, and then there's that. The lyrics, the story that the white American forefathers of the United States of America are played by African Americans and Hispanics, and they're rapping, but they are being true to history by making it so profoundly human that everybody is included, but stagecraft on the most sophisticated level, on every level. They're young people that are putting their initials into the world forever. And I'm looking so forward to this next generation.
I have to say, I'm so glad to hear you're excited about groundbreaking projects like Hamilton, because I feel like sometimes there's such a tendency to revere the canon, sometimes at the expense of being excited about where things are going, the forward motion of the art form. And I feel like for you, as someone who works in film, but you're well known for your reverence of theater and for introducing generations of film actors to the plays of the past that you feel have something to tell them about humanity, I'm really happy to hear that a show like Hamilton moved you in that way.
Oh, I was lucky enough to go backstage and meet some of the actors, and I said to them, never forget that every time you walk on the stage and do Hamilton, that you change someone's life forever. Because it does. They are teaching it in schools. They are teaching history through the rap lyrics that is exciting young people to think about the forefathers of the United States of America in the most expansive way, that they're rapping in school about history. Things move forward. You know, you can stay back and say, why can't we have it like the old days? Oh, shut up. The old days were the old days, and some of it, and listen, there's a wonderful story. Peter Brook, the great English director, and the wonderful Alan Rickman, who just passed, and he was doing a production of Antony and Cleopatra. And Peter Brook had directed it, and he was coming back to see the production after he had done another directorial job. And he said to Alan Rickman, how's it going, Alan? He said, you know, Peter, the 6th scene is getting better. The 8th, we're still struggling with, but I think we've got a handle on it. And Peter Brook said to Alan Rickman, Alan, we'll never be as good as the writer. All we can do is try. So Shakespeare will live forever. Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller, Stephen Sondheim, Aeschylus, Euripides, the great August Wilson. If people haven't read August Wilson, an African-American man who wrote the history of Black America in a 10-play cycle, forget about color, that talks about the evolution of a race with the highest poetic language that I know of. at a time when a lot of people didn't want to hear about it. And now there's a theater on Broadway named the August Wilson Theater. Playwrights are important. Playwrights change the world. So I'm on fire about that.
That's great. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the hot language in Skylight. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I worked with a great teacher in my younger years named Stella Adler. She introduced me to a lot of very important ideas about theater. And one was the rhythm of language, the rhythm of the writer, that David Hare's rhythm that is different than Eugene O'Neill's. And I wanted to mention Eugene O'Neill because he's another writer that will never be forgotten. Eugene O'Neill was just on Broadway with Huey. Now Long Day's Journey is being revived yet again. Eugene O'Neill's rhythm is a whole other way of speaking and putting words together than Harold Pinter. So each writer has a certain rhythm that the actor and the directors must catch. And you have to find that rhythm.
How would you characterize Hare's rhythm?
The rhythm is finishing ideas and not finishing ideas for reasons. In other words, there are line throughs where you finish, you get to the end of a sentence and you mean exactly what you mean, and that's what I want to say. Stopping and starting. It's not tempo. It's not fast or slow. It's the architecture of a phrase or a sentence and knowing when to interrupt it and when not to interrupt it, when to take a pause and not take a pause. I mean, if I'm finishing a sentence with you and I'm speaking and I want to get to the end of the idea, I don't say I'm finishing a sentence and I want to get to the end of the idea. It doesn't play because you've interrupted the rhythm. So he is about finishing ideas and stopping and trying to find a way to say it. People say Skylight is about advancing and retreating. That's what the language does. It advances and it retreats.
It's literally in the blocking too, right? There's so many moments when they're directed in the stage directions to come closer together or further apart.
And their ideas do that. And knowing, and I learned from Harold Pinter, because he says, this is right from Harold Pinter, he writes ellipses, pause, and silence. So an ellipses is, I know, in ellipses is I know what I want to say, but I'm afraid to say it. A pause is, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. And a silence is, I know exactly what I want to say, and I'm not going to say it. So when you read Harold Pinter, ellipses is different than a pause, is different than a silence. How long is the silence? How long is the pause? What's the thought process? I always use Tennessee Williams. When Maggie comes in and Cat and Hot and Rufo says, brick, brick, one of those no-neck monsters hit my lovely lace dress with a hot buttered biscuit, so I have to change. I'm sorry, Maggie, the water was on so loud I couldn't hear you. Well, I simply remarked that one of the no-neck monsters hit my lovely lace dress, so I have to change. I swear to God, I don't know where their voice boxes are located since they got no necks. You get through the idea, so the audience gets the imagery. So when you interrupt rhythm, you interrupt imagery.
So how faithful are you to punctuation and to stage directions?
Well, Sandy Meisner said, and I understood why, erase or mark out all the punctuation. I disagree. Look at it first. Then decide. There has been recently some sad choices that some people have made to take pauses in certain writers that cannot live with pauses that are incorrect. People will say, well, I felt like pausing there. Yeah, but the writer will be killed if you do that. Well, I'm an actor and I'm a creative person and I'll do it the way I want to do it. Yeah, but you have to honor the writer. The writer is trying to say something. You're a conduit for that writer. If you're honoring the story and the character, and you take a pause because it's truly part of your choice that invigorates the idea for the play, then you're serving the writer. If you're not doing that, you know, it's like in Hamilton stopping the rap because you feel like it. Hello?
So in a show that you've directed, in your ideal world, from night to night, what's the variation in running time?
It shouldn't be too much. Within a minute or two, at the most 4 or 5. Because you also wait for laughs. You never know how long the laughs are going to be. Sometimes you'll take a little bit more time. But if the play is suddenly 20 minutes longer, you go, something's wrong.
So for an audience coming to see Skylight, let's say they're coming in blind, they know nothing about the show. How do you think their experience will be? What do you think they should be excited about?
Well, I think they should be excited about listening to a great writer. I think they should be excited about the theater, Cam Stage, which is a fascinating theater, very long and not very deep. So the audience is right on the stage with the actors. And we have wonderful designers who are creating the world that the characters live in, which is very downtrodden. But we have the neighborhood that the audience will see part of, including the apartment where Kira lives. They'll see a time in history. They'll hear certain ideologies of a certain time in history, and they will see 3 characters that love each other very, very much in a 24-hour period. Heightened life lived fully in front of their eyes.
What is it about this play, in a nutshell, that has let it endure for 21 years? It won the Olivier for Best Play in 1995, the first year that it was produced, and then last year it won a Tony for Best Revival. I mean, that's almost a 20-year span with huge awards at both ends of it. What is it about this play that makes it relevant today, in your opinion?
It's relevant because not everyone you love you can live with. It's relevant because Bobby Kennedy said, it isn't whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. We just need better Democrats and better Republicans. It's about trying to be a better person. It's about the terror of change. It's about risk. It's about justice and injustice. It's timeless. Works of art last regardless of when they take place because it touches a core of the human condition that is universal and therefore timeless. Hamlet will always be. To be or not to be. Not just to live or die, but to become your full self, reaching your maturity and your identity, to be or not to be. That is the question. I mean, very smart people said, everything's Hamlet. Everybody's trying to find out who they are. And everybody in every play and every movie is trying to figure it out. It's about figuring it out. How do I want to live? Where do I want to live? With whom do I want to live? What kind of money do I want to make? What are my politics? What do I stand for? What have I done that I'm proud of? What have I done that I'm ashamed of? What do I regret? What do I treasure? What is precious? Where's the tragedy? Where's the joy?
Shame is a big part of this play.
Big time.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
the shame that Kira feels in having an affair with a married man, breaking the heart of another woman, and her dying, and realizing that her mother died when she was very young, and that her father wasn't accessible, and that she grew up with some money. And she walked into London at 18 years old, and there was a sign on the door that said, "Waitress wanted." She walked in and found, for the first time, a family. And she was young and she was vulnerable, and she had an affair with the man who owned the restaurant, who was married to Alice, a woman who loved her and who she loved, and broke her heart forever. Broke her heart forever, and she dies. That's shame. But she says in the play, he says because he wants her back, because Tom has his own shame, his own regrets. But he says, right to the end, talking about his wife, Alice would never forgive. Kira, shouldn't we be together? Because if not, then what did it all mean? We did this terrible thing, and someone died. Shouldn't we honor that and be happy? And she says, if I go back and live a life that I don't believe in. So he says, you like it, this teaching of yours. And I said it before, she says, I wouldn't say like, but I feel stretched. I feel that my life has meaning. I can overcome the shame and the regret and the guilt. The first thing she says to Tom is, I'm not guilty. That's the first thing she says to him. So there's shame all over the play.
What's the moment in the play that moves you personally the most?
There's not one moment that moves me the most in Skylight. It's the total of a deep love, deep, deep, true love that can never happen because they've committed a crime that can't be forgiven by one and is trying to be forgiven by another. And there's friendship. They're everything. They're friends. They're lovers. They love the repartee. They would be happy. But she says to him, she says, Tom, you can't be happy. You're too restless. But she loves him. It's that David Hare caught a particular love affair that cannot be. They will carry it with them for the rest of their lives. Tom and Kira will carry each other's heart inside themselves for eternity. That's what moves me. And in some way, Tom's son, Edward, comes back into Kira's life and they develop a friendship so something lasts because there was love. Edward needs it, Kira needs it. What will happen to Tom, I don't know. All of that moves me. And the fact that there's hope at the end. Hope for the friendship with Edward and Kira. Hope for a better future for people that are downtrodden. And that Tom is not a villain. It's not that simple. Life is not that simple. And he caught it. Bullseye.
Could you maybe just in a quick little nutshell summarize what it is that makes you want people to come and see this production?
I would like people to come and see Skylight because I think they'll be better for having seen it. Meaning they'll think, they'll be excited by the ideas, and I believe they'll see a beautiful production of a play that will last. And if they haven't seen it, they're gonna be, if we do it well, they will forget they're in the theater. That's when you know you're in the theater and it's going well. You forget you're there. You're on the stage with those characters. That's why they should come.
Larry Moss, thank you so much. What a pleasure to speak with you.
Nicole, you give a great interview and you have a great smile, and I thank you.
Thank you so much.